The Houston Texans, specifically their offensive line, have a big problem on their hands on Sunday. A huge challenge. In fact, 667 pounds of trouble headed for the offensive line on Sunday in the form of defensive tackle T'Vondre Sweat and defensive lineman Jeffrey Simmons. The Tennesse Titans have a better than you think defense, and the Texans are going to have to account for it to make sure they can take care of business on Sunday. And now you might be saying to yourself, Cody, this Titans defense, it doesn't look better than you think it is. They've given up over 30 points per game over the past 5 games. You'd be correct about that stat. Good job looking that up on the fly and asking that question. But they're second in yards allowed, and they've had some really nice moments as a defense. And when you think about where they're good as a defense, their front 5, front 7, you think about where the Texans are weak right now, and that's the offensive line, specifically that interior offensive line. Juice Scruggs at left guard, Jarrett Patterson at center, and Shaq Mason at right guard. It all kind of lines up to be a very tough task for the Texans. And in fact, offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick explained, hey, we got a lot of respect for what those Tennesse Titans do, and specifically those big, nasty defensive linemen.
They're really good. I mean, their front 5 is probably for us, I would say, in totality, the best we faced this year. Obviously, Simmons is a heck of a player. He shows up all over the place. He does everything, rushes inside, rushes outside. They have him drop sometimes, and he's still a factor even when he's dropping. Like you always have to be aware of where Simmons is. Sweat's been doing a really good job for him. He jumps off the tape on the inside. He's a really, really big, strong man, hard to move, makes a lot of plays in the backfield. Their edges are solid. Landry is obviously a really good rusher, good in the run game. Arden Key I've been with in San Fran, obviously familiar with him. He can go play. And Joseph is like still, I mean, a really solid interior player. Like they got people at every position. So that's a big challenge for us to be aware of in really both phases. And the starting point of, everything we talk about as far as game plan this week.
Now, Simmons and Sweat are who I'm focusing on from this Titans defensive line. Harold Landry, Arden Key, the guys that can't clean it up off the edge for some sacks. Yeah, they're impressive, but I'm not too worried about Titus Howard and Laramie Tunsil facing off with those guys. I'm worried about the interior offensive line versus Simmons and Sweat. Simmons has held down that Titans defensive line for years. He's one of the most underrated defensive tackles in all of football, and he's well compensated to do his job. He's very, very good at it. You've got to know, as Bobby Slowick said, where he is at all times. But Sweat's the one that really kind of changes things. He's a unique talent, and really because he's a unique size. They don't make players like T'Vondre Sweat anymore. He is a huge human being, and he can clog up the middle when it comes to the rushing attack. You think about how the Texans have gotten things going on offense consistently over the course of the season. It's been Joe Mixon and that rushing attack. If T'Vondre Sweat's clogging things up in the middle, if he is an issue for this interior offensive line, then you can sort of see how things could get really muddy for the Texans rushing attack and throw off how they want to operate this offense. Sweat also has come off of his best pass rush game as a defensive tackle. Not what he's known for, but he had a good showing the last time out as a pass rusher from that defensive tackle spot. Now, why am I so worried about this defensive tackle duo on top of what Bobby Slowick said and how impressive they are? Well, I'm worried about it because of where it matches up on the Texans team. Prize Picks, the best, easiest way to play a daily fantasy. Play your first 5, get $50 thanks to Prize Picks. So let's put together an entry for Prize Picks and look at all the fun stuff they've got. They got all the different sports for you. They've even got these discounts sometimes. Look at Tyreek Hill on Turkey Day. Let's go ahead and put that into the equation. And we know Derrick Henry is going to put some points on the board, so we like that. And then you hit the little calendar here. You go over, you find the Texans, you find the Titans, and then you find whatever predicted stat that you want to use. Look, I believe Nico Collins is getting into the end zone in his second game back from his injury. I also believe that Will Levis is going to throw an interception. So we've got a couple of different things here. $5 to 7 times our money. It's that easy when you want to put in an entry in Prize Picks. And again, they've got so many different sports, so many different things for you to choose from. Check out Prize Picks, the best, easiest way to play daily fantasy. The interior offensive line has been the biggest concern and the weakest unit on the Texans all season long. Laremy Tunsil's got some stuff that you can praise. Titus Howard's got some stuff that you can praise. Interior offensive linemen, crickets on that one. You can't praise a lot of what they've been able to do. They got slightly better each of the past 2 times with this offensive line configuration. In fact, last week from a pass rush standpoint, it was the second time this season they didn't allow more than 1 sack, and it was the first time in over a month that they didn't allow a pressure percentage of 40 or above. So they've improved incrementally week to week, and they're going to have to be good again this week. But the real worry there is the running. Look, the pass rush for the Titans is going to be tough. You're going to need to stop them, and Simmons is going to be a big part of that from that defensive end, defensive tackle spot that he plays. I just call it interior defensive lineman, and then Sweat can help out there. But stopping the Texans' rushing attack, throwing off this offense, putting them in those second and long, third and longs that they've had trouble operating in all season long, that's where the Titans can benefit. That's where the Titans can have some success. And this Texans offensive line configuration was not created to help the rushing attack. It was created to help the pass blocking. Remember, the first time this team went out there with this O-line configuration, Scruggs and Patterson couldn't get any push from the left guard and center spot. Shaq Mason's had a down season as well, and they couldn't run the football against the Lions. Now, it's a much tougher front. They faced a lesser front in the Dallas Cowboys, and they were able to run the football. So they're going to need to be able to trust Patterson and Scruggs, who've had not a ton of results in the positive so far this season, to go out there and try to move some earth from the offensive line spot. Shaq Mason as well, but the Texans have to be ready to counteract what this Titans defensive line brings to the table. If it's difficult for Mixon to hit some of his interior runs, take it outside. Let Laremy Tunsil, one of those tight ends, get out there, get the lead block going for Mixon. Let him use that vision, maybe start inside and head outside, and really try to get after the parts of the Titans defense that are not super impressive, like their 2 interior defensive linemen that we've talked about. So take that thing outside. Texans like to run it left. That's behind Laremy Tunsil, but sneak a couple of ones out to the right. Plus, if you feel like the defensive line's getting a little aggressive, if T'Vondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons start foaming at the mouth, seeing the situation, and they start really getting after C.J. Stroud, a nice, well-timed screen should be just what the doctor ordered. And Dr. Slowick can prescribe that for that Tennessee defense, and that could be the antidote to the nastiness that Simmons and Sweat are bringing to the table. In addition to all that, if you're worried about interior defensive linemen getting pressure or having a good day, the way to counteract that as well when you're in the air, get the ball out of C.J. Stroud's hands quickly. That pressure up the middle is going to push Stroud back. It's going to let those edge guys get deep and try to use their speed against Tunsil and Howard. Well, if you don't have to worry about getting way deep in the pocket and those edge guys, you can get rid of the football quick. Nico Collins win fast. You saw Tank Dell win quickly a couple of times. The tight ends have been useful in some of the short passing game. 1-2, get rid of the football, get it out, and get it into a playmaker's hands, and then start to back that Titans defense off a little bit. Then you hit them with a little Joe Mixon, a well-timed play action, some good deep passing, and the next thing you know, you've put some points on the board. The Titans are going to have a tough time putting points on the board themselves, and you start to see how the Texans roll Tennessee in this matchup and take care of business on Sunday. But 667 pounds of concern for me for this Texans interior offensive line. You can't let those 2 players, Sweat and Simmons, dominate and change this game like they are capable of doing. What say you? Am I worried about the 2 Godzillas unnecessarily, or are you equally concerned about the interior defensive line of the Tennessee Titans? Let me know in the comment section down below. On your way down there, throw me a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the link for Prize Picks, the best, easiest way to play daily fantasy, from basketball to hockey to college football to, of course, the NFL. They've got it all when it comes to daily fantasy and Prize Picks. Play your first $5, get $50 when you use my code STOOTS, STOOTS, at the link in the description down below. Appreciate you watching the video. Hope you enjoy it. I can't wait until we talk Texans again soon.